You're now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning, everyone. I believe it's Hump Day Wednesday already. Am I right? Yes, it's June the 2nd. Already one day into the month of June. So, it's hurricane season. Want to make sure that you guys are getting all prepared for that. But this morning, we have a few things that we want to talk about. Want to talk about what happens when you decide to complain to CMR, because it seems like a few people are confused about how the process works. And I think it's only fair that you all understand. That's going to be interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about some good COVID vaccination news. That's been in the news. Maybe we'll have a look at our court list for the day to see what's going on. Someone asked me about a case the other day, cruelty to child. What on earth is that? I don't even know. That sounds interesting. So maybe we'll try to find out a bit more about cruelty to child. What does that mean? Sounds like a situation. Good morning, Miss Judy. How are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. Good morning, Morna. Good to see you here this morning. Miss Rita, good morning. How are you? So nice to have you here. Had a rough night last night with my daughter. She didn't sleep very well. I don't think she's the world's best sleeper in terms of children. I know I've heard of children like, oh, they sleep all night. They don't wake up. I was like, wow, I wish I had that child. I don't think I've ever had that child. Even as an infant, she didn't really sleep like the entire night. You know, some people at like 6 months, oh yeah, the baby's sleeping all night already. I'm like, really? Your baby sleeps all night long? Wow, that's nice. I'm guessing just not every child is designed the same. Elizabeth, do you have a child that never slept the whole night? And I think what that means for the parents is you're probably not going to sleep the whole night either. Marshall, First Lady Jayanne, thank you so much. Philip is here. Good morning, Philip. Good morning, Senior David Levy, joining us from London. I was watching the BBC news this morning, and they were complaining about some councils in London and I guess the surrounding areas in the UK who are trying to encourage people who drive to walk. And it seems like it's quite the challenge. So they have been making certain areas like pedestrian only areas. And unfortunately, what that means is people are not happy. People don't like to walk. People just do not like to walk. And so the persons who don't like walking are still pushing their way through, these areas. They close them off from like certain times. It's kind of like what we were doing in the morning in the Prospect area. So high traffic areas, they're like, nope, you can't cut through here. Well, this is like during the daytime, they don't want people driving through. So it's interesting for sure, because a lot of people just feel like they should have the right to drive wherever they want. And they're like, why are you forcing me to walk? So that was kind of interesting to watch on the BBC News this morning. Sometimes I just turn on the news and I don't want to watch American news. I'll watch international news to get a feel of what's going on. And so in the UK, for example, they're already talking about the Queen's Jubilee celebrations next year. She has broken a lot of records, that Queen that you see there, our Queen Elizabeth II. Longest serving monarch ever. Definitely the longest serving woman. She's outlived everybody who's come before her in terms of sitting on the throne. She's had an amazing reign. So next year, they're already planning her Golden Jubilee. Is it Golden Jubilee? Celebrations. Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, Catherine. Jazara, thank you so much for tuning in. Alice, good morning. Felicia, thank you. Miss Joy is here joining us from Texas. First Lady Jayanne is asking where she can go for her vaccination today. We can double check the calendar. Let me see here. This is June. So we got some good vaccine news to celebrate here as well. Let me just see if I can find the June calendar. So today is the 2nd. And you can go to Cayman Bay from 5 to 9 p.m. Tomorrow they return to the airport from 11 to 3 and then 4:30 to 7. So hopefully that helps. Good morning, Riaz. How are you? Happy Wednesday. Elizabeth is here, the beautiful Celine, watching us from Guyana. Thank you so much. What's it like in Guyana? What's the topography of Guyana? Do you have mountains? Is it flat? What is it like? I've never been to Guyana. Yes, Celine, no ill response to the first shot, the first dosage of the vaccine. Perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, I took off my Band-Aid this morning because it was still on. And I was like, why am I still wearing this Band-Aid? And then that always causes my daughter to ask me questions like, does it hurt? And I'm like, no, we're all good. She was so sweet about it. Oh, I'll kiss your arm, she says. I'm like, you're such a sweet little girl. Jamelia says, mine's never did. He was breastfed. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. She just seems very restless at night sometimes. And she's kind of a miserable sleeper. Like when she wakes up, she's not in the best of moods during the middle of the night, but I guess who is, right? So, Miss Alba, buenos dias. Estoy bien. Miranda says, well, stop charging for licensing if people must walk. Well, I mean, obviously you don't walk everywhere, but they're encouraging, especially in smaller town areas, to encourage people to walk where they can. And they have made some areas mandatory pedestrian only. You know, it's open to people who do like deliveries and that sort of thing. But I think that at the end of the day, and they have those smart cameras that will grab your license plate and charge you a fine. And apparently, once most people realize that, they'll actually comply. But I don't particularly feel a way about it. I think all of us should be encouraged to walk more. Like we drive everywhere, especially on this island for such a small island. We just drive everywhere. And I remember, even when I was in university, you took your bike on campus and you'd park it and you'd walk around campus. Like there was a reason why you stayed slim because you did a lot of walking. Trust me. So I think it's good for the environment, to give the cars a break, to walk a little bit. I think central Georgetown, unless you're passing through, once we get back to having tourists here, should be a pedestrian only zone. Because, I mean, really, it gets so crazy with the traffic during the day. Sabrina, good morning. Steffi, how are you? Yes, 5 p.m. Miss Anne Marie, good morning. Happy hump day, Miss Darlene. It feels like home today in Leeds, 82 degrees. Wow. Ooh-wee. Top of the morning to you, Louis, Larry, joining us from New York. So let's talk about the first topic of the day. When you complain to CMR, what happens? Now, some of you, I gather, have unrealistic expectations about what happens. Ooh, there's something going on in court today at 10 o'clock. I have got to be there for. Oh, I just saw it on the cause list. I will be there. Yes. Ooh, that's going to be something hot. Y'all want me to be there. I'll tell you about it once I get there. But listen, we get a lot of phone calls and we get a lot of people. I personally get a lot of people calling me day in and day out to complain about everything under the sun, to be quite frank. Sometimes I think to myself, I had a lady say to me the other day, she was having an issue with her car. She actually didn't call me, but I saw her in the grocery store and she was saying, Sandy, I had to use CMR's name in order to get a business to do the right thing. And I said, my gosh, what happened? So she told me this story about how she went to get her vehicle fixed, spent almost $3,000 with the dealer, like the official dealer. And, they claimed that they were going to sort out her issue, and come to find out, not only do they not sort it out, which is crazy, but they also almost end up killing her husband in the process because it was like a brake issue. And so the brake wasn't working. So she said, she decided to, they were like, oh, they want to charge another $600 to fix it. And she's like, hold on a second. I just paid you almost 3 grand to fix the problem. Not only did you not fix the problem, but you made it worse. And now you want me to turn around and pay you again more money because of what? So now, when you start talking to mechanics and they're doing this sort of thing, you start to not really believe them. You're kind of like, oh, these mechanics are shady. So she was sort of feeling like these people are trying to take advantage of her, which they probably were. And she said, I'm going to call Sandy over at CMR Road. And they don't like to hear that. So they were like, no, 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 we're going to fix it. We'll get it sorted out for you. Mm-mm-mm. The thing that gets me really is, why should people even have to say that? I mean, if you're a business and you're about doing the right thing, honestly, you should do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. When you're in business, to me, it just makes good sense to keep your customers happy, especially as small as Cayman is. One person shares their story and it goes viral. But, I also get it. I get that here in CMR, we have an extremely wide reach. So we do a post and it reaches everybody. So yesterday, I don't know what it was about yesterday. Yesterday must have been Complainers International Day. Because I tell you what, I was getting so many complaints yesterday. Oh, this is going on, that's going on. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. So, I always try to help people. And helping people doesn't always mean that when you come complaining to me about your situation, that you're going to get the resolution that you need. So I often think that it's fair that when someone tells me one version of a story, I get the other side of the story, because you know how it goes. One person in their mind, this is what happened. And I know human beings, like in their mind, that's really what happened. I'm not calling them a liar. I'm not saying that they're not being honest. None of that. It's just, this is what happened. They're seeing it from their perspective. Then I ask the other person, and they sort of start to explain why they took the decision that they took. And it's kind of like, And then I realize that I can see it from both sides of the coin. Good morning, Carol. I know Cayman is not designed very well in terms of our roadways to even encourage foot traffic, especially in Georgetown. So we're kind of like stuck. I think we need a redesign plan that encourages foot traffic a bit more. Cherie, good morning. Good morning, Jake. How was your birthday last week? I think you lived it up. Good morning, Sophia. Omeria, good morning to you. Good morning, Miss Donna. So guys, you just joined me. I'm trying to explain to people what happens when they come to me with a complaint. So I think it's incumbent on me to try to be as fair as possible to all parties involved. So just because you call me with your version of the story doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to be like, yes, you're in the right. This person should be lambasted. We're going to put them on full blast, and it is what it is. A lot of times I will actually reach out to the other party and say, hey, we have received a complaint. This is what's going on. Do you wish to comment? Sometimes they do not. Sometimes they do. There are times when, quite frankly, they will have very few comments to make. They don't want to talk to us and whatever. And Unfortunately for them, when they place themselves in that position, I can only say, okay, this is the complaint. If the company doesn't respond or whatever, there's not much that I can do. But when I make a phone call and I speak to a business owner who says, listen, this isn't exactly what happened. And I'm willing to reach out to this individual, or at least consider reaching out to this individual and trying to make this situation right, then I feel like I need to give people an opportunity to do that. What do you guys think? I mean, am I being unreasonable here? I think it's quite the reasonable thing to do is to give people an opportunity because a lot of times it's a misunderstanding. It's one person getting in their feelings and seeing something a particular way, and the other person holding their ground saying, nope, I'm right, I'm this, I'm that, you know? And it just becomes very, very difficult to not see that in between the two stories is probably a little bit of the truth. So if you come to me with your story and I say, okay, I'm going to reach out to the other party, I will listen to what they have to say. Right now, all businesses in Cayman should understand the importance of the local business, right? We should all be on top of our game. Businesses who never paid you any mind before, didn't care for locals, would never allow you to sit poolside. Let's be honest here now. Are now all of a sudden not only allowing you to patronize at their facility, but they're marketing towards locals. Oh, staycation weekends and all this sort of thing. Now, I'm a little bit funny because if I felt like you wouldn't invite me before as a local or as a Caymanian, and now that tourists are not here, all of a sudden my little dollar, my CI dollar has value. I'm not likely to patronize you regardless. But, I get that people are operating, if you're still operating any at all, that you're operating at less capacity. And so I also, as a small business owner, understand how customers can be. I was talking to a young lady yesterday. I used to work in retail when I was in university. That's how, in part, I paid for university life, how I had to pay my bills and pay my little apartment. I didn't have a mommy or daddy who were like footing all my expenses. I wasn't away on a Cayman Islands government scholarship getting everything paid. I didn't have that kind of good fortune. So, I had to work. And one of the jobs I had was a customer service manager at Walmart. And I was just kind of reminiscing about this in Tampa. And boy, you can come across some people in Walmart. Lord Jehovah. But when you've worked on the other end of retail or any sort of business, you really get an appreciation for a lot of things, including how customers can be. Like customers will swear you up and down that this is the position. And then you check cameras, you speak to other employees, and that's not what happened at all. So you take everything with a grain of salt. And so one of the many complaints that I got yesterday was about someone who went to a local restaurant and had an experience. Now, listen to this experience because this is really interesting. I'm not going to name the restaurant because I've given them an opportunity to fix it. They have assured me, and they've already tried to reach out to all parties involved that they're going to do so. So let's see what happens, right? So we're going to give people an opportunity. I think it's only fair. Again, I'm a small business owner, and I know, and it's always that 10% of clients that all of a sudden they've got a problem. I mean, I've had a client recently, some people you don't even want as customers, but I do my best to try to separate the frustration that comes with dealing with certain people and maybe appreciate that they're not playing with a full deck either, because some of the things they say to me, I'll just read the message and be like, I'm shaking my head, I'm rolling my eyes, but I'm not letting the customer say any of that. And I go out of my way to help my clients. They're complaining, our Roku devices that we have. Oh, the remote doesn't work. Well, you've had the service for 4 or 5 months and you've been watching it 24/7, and you have literally already worn out your remote and somehow it doesn't work. I wonder why. But you know what? I'm not even going to argue with people like that. I'm just going to get a new remote, suck up the cost. It depends on what's going on with the remote. Sometimes they're going to get charged for it, and just replace the remote. So I've replaced remotes before, and the person's like, oh, it still isn't working. You know what the chances are of you getting 2 remotes that don't work? Slim to none. Come to find out, the person doesn't even know how to use the remote. It's like the fancier voice remote. They're pressing the voice button. I'm like, miss, remember when we did our little tutorial when I sat down with you and walked you through, this is how you do this? I know it was a lot, but you're just getting this feature wrong. That's not how you do it. Oh, this person's claiming the remote doesn't work. User error. So yesterday there was a gentleman who went to a local restaurant and he had a meal. He says that he instructed like he went to the takeout counter. So this is a restaurant that has a separate takeout order area. And if you're going to eat in, you're in a different area. So he claims that he went to the takeout area, ordered takeout, but said, I'm going to have it here. Now, that could be a mistake. And he did say maybe she didn't hear him, or he'll own up to the fact that, maybe he didn't even say it. Okay. But, when you walk into a restaurant like this, if you're intending to sit and have your meal, you actually sit first. Then a waitress comes to you and takes your order. So right away, I'm thinking to myself, you are using the totally wrong procedure to do this, but let me continue to listen, because what ended up happening was there was a couple who were sitting there who saw the incident. They became very upset by what they witnessed, and they got up and left as a result of that, and caused that business to lose not just a couple, because they were meeting friends who were all going to be joining them and sitting there as a group and having a meal. But they were really upset by what they saw, so they got up and left. So they first called. You're not going to believe what happened. We were at this restaurant watching a guy with this situation. So he got his takeout food. He sits down at a table and he starts eating. The waitress tells him that he can't do that. Okay. And then eventually management gets involved after he basically refuses to leave. And the end result is somebody, one of the managers, one of the owners, picks up what was left of his boxed lunch and puts it in the garbage. Now, you have got to know that when you first hear this story, believe me, it is extremely egregious to hear that anyone would take a person's food and put it in the garbage, food that they've just paid for. First of all, you don't touch this is the kind of person I am. You do not touch my food when I am eating it. I've already paid for it. I'm here. That's just beyond rude. That's another level of, you really pissing me off. So the couple shared what they witnessed. And then he called and he shared what happened. So he said he went, he ordered the food. He said, I'll have it here. Okay. He admits maybe she didn't hear him. He even said, maybe I'll take responsibility. Maybe I didn't say it, but I thought it, whatever. But when he sits down at a table and the waitress says, you can't sit down here, he then says, this is his version of the story, that he said, well, what's the issue? Well, the issue is when we do takeout, we don't charge gratuities, and that's how our staff makes their money. So if you want to eat in, we don't have an issue with you eating in, but, you'll have to pay the gratuities, the service charge, whatever, for the table. He says he told him no problem. He had no problem paying the service charge. And as a matter of fact, he'll even order a drink from the bar. I'm thinking, well, all of this sounds very reasonable. Like sometimes as a company, you just gotta not tittle and fool around with the small stuff. You've got to know what's important enough to pick a fight about. So I call the company, I speak to one of the owners, I say, listen, this is what's going on. And then they give a slightly different version. So Paradise Thinkers, thank you so much, says Cayman has a lot of physical scammers. They sell you a service, but do not know how to fix most problems or deliberately make problems so that you have to keep coming back to them. It's called repeat business. And I want to talk about that here in a second because that's really quite important. If all your problems are fixed, how will businesses make money from you? Like the light bulbs. They make light bulbs once upon a time that lasted forever. But they decided that model was not favorable to repeat profit daily or monthly. Some businesses do good and some don't buy you. Some don't, but you pay and then it gets cut off from there. Sorry, Paradise. And I think there's some truth in what Paradise is saying, to be quite frank. Some of that definitely happens. Good morning, Aliano. Aliano says we have very shameful and stupid consumers on island, and it's frustrating. People invest time, learn about the product, the do's and don'ts, how it works, what it does, how it works for you. Stupid demographic to get stupid services. Good morning to Maria. Thank you for joining. Yes, well, when I talk to the owner of the business now, the story changes ever so slightly. So now the story is this gentleman has come 3 days in a row and done the exact same thing 3 days in a row. So automatically, if that one fact is true, then I go, if he's been here before and he's continually being told, you can't do takeout and then sit down. Like we get this sometimes, maybe you change your mind, like, oh, I've got enough time, so let me sit down and eat. That could happen. I mean, it's happened. But every single time you go to order, if that has happened, then you kind of know the policy, you know the procedure. So why are you not just following the procedure? Like that to me is a little bit of a red herring, right? Or a little bit of a red flag. So then the owner says, listen, I would not have had an issue allowing this guy to stay had he been a little bit more nice about the situation. So right away, he copped an attitude. I'm not going to move. What are you going to do? Are you going to call the police on me? You're prejudiced. You're this, you're that. It's just because I'm an Indian, Jamaican, you're a white Jamaican, you've got a problem with me. And it just like is this snowball thing to the point where eventually they were told to leave. Now, there's another part to this story that's very, very interesting. So there was a police officer apparently who was standing up there and they were watching this incident and they didn't do anything throughout. And towards the end, they then went and started taking a photo of the gentleman's car and writing down his plate number or something. And I don't know why that was done, because what does this have to do with the police, first of all? And then the police then were like, oh, you have to leave, sort of thing. But you guys know police officers, a lot of them don't know their boundaries, whether it's something that's a civil matter, a private matter, otherwise, they always get a little bit confused about the law, despite them being the enforcers of the law a lot of times. So it was very, very strange. But the position of the business owner is that this other person was being rude to them. They copped an attitude. They started calling somebody racist or calling him racist. And, taking this attitude that, oh, I'm not moving. What's your problem? What are you going to do about it? That sort of thing. Now, we all know when you're having an incident, a moment, And then this sort of thing starts to turn sideways. So if you have an altercation with someone and they all of a sudden find you to be offensive in any way with your words, your body language, your action, it is much more difficult for them to say, oh, I'm just going to let you sit here and finish your meal. But please know that going forward, this isn't a policy, and I'd really appreciate it if you don't do it again. Especially if there is a perception that you have breached this particular rule before. So I said to the business owner, I said, listen here. First of all, you're both Jamaicans. Just work it out. Yardie to yardie. You understand? Like, I kind of feel like if it's two Caymanians, you probably understand each other a little bit more than if it was a Caymanian and somebody from the UK who have cultural differences, language differences. You know, when you start speaking patois, they don't know what you're talking about. So honestly, I said, listen, boss, this is your countryman. He's a Jamaican, you're a Jamaican. I get in Jamaica that you have all sorts of people from all over the place, right? So the restaurant owner says, and yes, he kept saying, you don't know who I am. You don't know who I am. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't know. You know, some people want to throw around the positions they have. I mean, I don't know if he actually said that, but this is what the other side of the story was. So I'm sitting there listening to this, and I said, all right. I said, hear me now, okay? From one business owner to the next, whatever happened today, you have to take full accountability for this as the business owner. And I think it's incumbent on you to reach out to the respective parties and just fix it. Sometimes you just need to apologize and you need to explain, okay, this is where we were coming from. This is the situation. You know, obviously this couple, they saw something. They may not have heard the entire conversation, but they saw enough to go, oh, this is not a place that we want to go to. They literally got up, went to the parking lot and called me. And these are sensible people. The husband is actually a police officer in New York. They just got out of quarantine. This was like their first post-quarantine meal. And they had this experience. They witnessed this experience. It wasn't even them. Because at one point, they even invited the man over. And the owner said, no. Because I think they were at that point then where they were like, this guy has got to go. So I'm thinking to myself, this is not good for business. And if I have to get on CMR and talk about your business having done this, this isn't good. Now that I hear your version of the story, it does soften what I understood to have happened, even if I take 50% of what you have said to be true. So let's, like a little courthouse, right? You got to decide who you're going to believe. Let's give the complainant 50% credit. Let's give this other person 50% credit. And in between, we're trying to say, okay, this is somewhat the truth between the two. This is still a situation that is fixable. I think you need to reach out to the parties and speak to them and just deal with this as a business owner. So I give people, just like the eyeglass people who fight that girl about her shoes, I called them and I spoke to them. You know what I didn't like about them? They were laughing on the phone and took no accountability whatsoever. Oh, this girl's lying about every single thing, but yet she's able to show me certain things that I'm like, she can't be lying about everything because, you know, it kind of speaks for itself when I see an email. So the person who made the complaint, and this is why I want to address this so that you all understand that when you come to me and you make a complaint, this is how the process works. I'm not going to automatically take your side. Shocker. There has to be a level of balance in what I do. And quite frankly, because of the power of CMR, if I open my mouth, everybody came on talking about it. There's a degree of responsibility that does come with that as well. Don't you all agree? So when the business owner said, leave it with me, I'll deal with it, I'll fix it, I'm going to call the parties involved and sort it out, You as the complainant, once you start calling me all hours or messaging me at night about, oh, I don't know why you haven't put this story up. I haven't seen it up on CMR yet and this and that. All right, Star, listen here. You don't own CMR, and I don't care who you be or who you are. I don't care what position you have. You don't own CMR. You're not the news director. You're not the content manager, and you're not a shareholder. So just because you come to story to CMR and we don't act in a time frame that you are happy with, or we didn't even put your story up, none at all, that doesn't give you the right to then be messaging me about, oh, I don't know why you never put my story up. My story not up on CMR yet. You need to relax yourself. And then on top of that, to turn around and say, I'm just as bad as the police, because apparently they call the police, they're calling their lawyer, they're calling this one, they're calling that one. Any lawyer that tells you they can do anything about this situation that I've just explained is taking money from a fool, because you're a fool for entertaining and paying a lawyer. Because what do you expect the lawyer to be able to do? This is where you got to have a little bit of common sense and be reasonable. What's the lawyer going to do? Get you reimbursed for a $10 meal? A business has a right to actually have policies in place, and they also have a right to say, you know what? We don't want to serve you ever again. Do you know that a business can do that? They can. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, it really has to be that this guy's just having a bad day. So I am not even going to get insulted by your comments in this moment, because you're having a bad day. Anybody who complains or compares me to the police, I know must be out of their goddamn mind. So I don't respond to the ridiculousness of it all. I'm going to let things settle down. I'm going to allow the owner to reach out. He said he's already been calling. The gentleman claims, oh, he's not received any phone calls. Oh, he always answers his phone. I don't have any reason to believe that if this person said they were going to call you and they've called you twice and they've got no answer and that they can't leave a voicemail message, I really don't feel like the person's making that up. So he says that he's never been there before. First time I've been there for lunch is what he says. So then I think to myself, there's two possibilities. Either he's been there before, or the waitress is just getting it wrong. Now, listen, waitresses are human beings and they get a lot of stuff wrong. Most of them don't even pay attention to who they're serving. So I don't know how she took a good look at him or whatever. But there are also a lot of waitresses who pay a lot of attention to what's going on. I haven't said any at all, Cindy, where the business is. So I see some of you are guessing is Paradise Grill and Bar. I've not said where it is. And for the record, it's actually neither of those. So when a waitress says he's been here 3 days in a row and done the exact same thing, if she has gotten it wrong, then that needs to be addressed and she needs to apologize. But if the guy has legit been there 3 days in a row and done the exact same thing, then yeah, that kind of leads me to be like, why aren't you just following the procedure? Laws are not meant to be followed by some and not followed by others just because of who you are in life. That wouldn't be fair. That's part of the problem now with certain things. Some people get away with murder. So if I decide that, oh, I'm somehow special, so I can park in handicap spots. I can walk into Foster's and pick up a bag of groceries and walk out without having paid for it. And when the police stop me and they want to talk to me, I'm like, well, don't you know who I am? It don't matter who you are. There are laws, procedures, things that we do as a society to help society run better that kind of makes it better for all of us. So I don't have a problem, generally speaking, with following rules if they are applied to all. And to be honest, if they make a little bit of sense. So the logic behind this rule is this. If you go to the takeout section and you do takeout, you're not charged gratuity. If you sit down at a table that is a service table, you will be served, you will get full service, et cetera, et cetera. And with that comes a gratuity, which we then turn around and help to pay our employees with. So that 15% that gets added to your bill is a service charge, a gratuity charge, which, by the way, there's always been this argument, Cayman, if you even have to pay that. Most of us pay it without question, but I think there is a legality to it where if you don't really want to pay a service charge, you don't have to pay it. Now, here's the thing. When you sit down and you do see on the menu that it says that there's a 15% gratuity or service charge, it's at that point that you should decide that you're not going to pay it, and then you can get up and leave. You shouldn't be able to sit there and order a meal and then decide after the fact that you're not going to pay it, especially when it's a plain and simple and black and white. And it's important to put your procedures in writing. So remember that customer I was telling you all about that I've been dealing with? And they say, oh, well, this isn't working and I don't want your service anymore. And I said, well, miss, you can choose not to, nobody can force you to stay with the company or whatever. But what I can tell you is we have a lot of happy customers. I go out of my way to ensure that they're happy. And in fact, I am willing, since you seem to think it's your device that's the problem, I am willing to replace your device with a brand new device at no charge, despite the fact that your payment receipt says no returns, all sales are final, no refunds, et cetera, et cetera. Because what you find with electronics is people take them and they have them for a couple months and they put them through the ringer. You can't then have a policy where, okay, you can throw this box around and then hand it to me and it's like my problem. So, right. I say, I will be happy to replace it for you. Oh, but I paid a deposit and I should get a deposit. What are you talking about? You paid for the box, the device. You paid for your first month of service, which you've used. Now you're into several months. I've even given you a free month that you didn't even know anything about because you've been complaining. So I said, let me just, as a courtesy, give this person a free month. But yet, now you're talking about you need your deposit back. You never paid a deposit. Please look at your receipt. And you'll see where it says, my receipt never said that. I'm like, well, then you must have think I just started being in business yesterday. Roque has been around for over 6 years. And so I'm well aware of what the policy is. I know what every single receipt says. And so I took a copy of her receipt, screenshot it, and sent it to her and said, this was the receipt that you actually received. All of a sudden, radio silence. But you see how customers, I know how this works. Customers will swear that this is the position. This is what happened. They'll swear you up and down and you're like, wow, I have to believe this person because they sound so compelling. So imagine if she went and tell people that I promised her to get her deposit back. If I didn't have that in writing, and this is why it's important, folks, as a business owner, if you own a business, have your business done professionally. You do certain things, you put things in writing. I was speaking to someone at CNB the other day because I had a company who I do business with, and they had charged my card. It was like an auto renewal thing. And they charged my card, and then where it says vendor, it just says business. That's the name. And so CNB fraud department calls me and says, do you know who this person is? And I say, well, I don't know a business called business. I mean, I have no clue. And then they said, okay, the company's in, where were they? Nevada or Las Vegas or somewhere. And I'm like, doesn't ring a bell. So I do a chargeback. So I'm thinking this is a fraudulent transaction. I put it through. CNB is like, okay, out of precaution, let us cancel your card. They issue me a new card. The whole nine works, right? Well, at least a week or two after, the company comes forward and emails me, oh, hello there. We've noticed that there has been a claim against our charge. And I'm like, you're the company? Who puts business as the company name? That is so stupid. So then they say to me, well, we need you to withdraw your dispute, because if you don't withdraw it, then we incur fees and, we're not going to allow you to use your service. I'm like, well, you kind of waited a little bit long. I don't have a problem reaching out to CNB to see what the procedure is. I do not know what the procedure is, but I will certainly reach out to them and see if my chargeback query can now be canceled. But it's been like over a week. Like literally, you waited this long to reach out to me. Anyway, last week, Friday, I messaged them and I say, listen, CNB has said, you have 2 days after you've said that this is a fraudulent transaction or you don't know what this is or whatever. You've got 2 days to then withdraw that. You didn't contact me within that period of time. That's CNB's policy. There's nothing that I can do about it. So if you now wish to not allow me to have access to your service, that's on you. I don't have a problem paying for your service. I think that whoever you're using to do because in the States, they have a lot of these card companies that are like merchant service providers or whatever. Whoever you're using that identifies your company with the name business instead of the proper name of your company has no sense. And perhaps your argument or your issues should be with them to have that changed. And when I was talking to someone at the bank, they're like, yeah, that's so ridiculous. They've never actually seen anything like that. But they said, you know what else, Sandy, is a lot of companies don't understand that there is a requirement for them to be PCI compliant. So when you have a little card machine and you're able to do card transactions and online transactions and so on, you have to be what they call PCI compliant. And you have to go through every so often, they make you go through and answer all these questions about your business and that you understand how to be a merchant, basically, how to offer merchant services, yada, yada, yada. And a lot of it comes down to you having things in writing. So they were talking about a local service company here in the Cayman Islands who don't have a cancellation policy. But when they recently had to cancel something, and they weren't even like fully canceling it, they were like, okay, hang on to my deposit for future use, but I can't come this weekend or this day or whatever to do the service again. Then they were told, no, we're going to take your deposit and it's non-refundable and you'll never get it back. No, that can't work. Especially when you had no such policy anywhere in writing. So I think as a business, you have to really go out of your way to make sure that you are compliant with certain things and that you have certain procedures, etc., in place. Or Maria says, what if you get crappy service? Are you still obligated to pay service charge? I don't think so, actually. But I think most people just pay it. They don't even argue the point. Because here there seems to be a difference, although it's not really treated that way in the States, between gratuities and a tip. In the States, those two things are interchangeable. In Cayman, you can give an additional tip on top of the gratuities if you wish. Celine says, I always say the customer's always right. Good morning, Miss Joyce Ann. Well, I don't agree that the customer is always right, but I think you can treat the customer with a certain degree of diplomacy if you wish to retain their business. Now, let me be very clear. There are some customers who you do not want as customers. I have had this experience myself. There was a guy in, I think it was Little Cayman is where he lived. Oh, he was such a pain, constant pain, every single month complaining. And at one point, he actually claimed that we had double charged him for the month. And I'm like, sir, I'm not saying that the transaction may not have shown up twice if the bank, because sometimes these banks, they do duplicate transactions, right? So I'm not saying that that might not have happened, but that would be a banking error. That wouldn't have been me putting in your transaction twice into my machine, because I simply don't do that. I'm very, very meticulous because I do have customers who give me their card information. I secure that with passwords. Nobody has access to that information but me. I really go out of my way, right? So I'm like, nobody else could have done the transaction. It would have had to have been me. And I can tell you 100-degree certainty that that just didn't happen. So I said, however, I'm going to reach out to, my bank, CNB, speak to them about the merchant charges and see what information they can provide. So they came back and they sent me the full list of stuff, and there was only one charge. So I'm like, with all due respect, if you're seeing more than one charge on your end, then you need to speak to your bank, because CNB is only showing the one charge, the one transaction. And he went up and down and all over the place. And I made the corporate decision that this is not the type of client that I would like to have. And so after he finally came back and kind of made a half-ass apology and said, oh yeah, okay, whatever, I said, sir, with all due respect, we are not able to provide you with this service any longer. There are other people out there, I'm sure, that would be happy to deal with you. Not really. And happy to take your business. Some people think just because you're paying them money that they can say anything to you, they can treat you any kind of way, and it just doesn't matter. No, money isn't everything. There are times I will give you your money back and tell you, no, thank you. I don't want you as a customer. Because, you see the headaches coming down the line. This person is always going to be a problem. When you see how certain people think a certain way, you can't change the way that these people think. And it's the 20% rule. Do you know that as a business, you spend 80% of your time dealing with 20% of your customers when it comes to complaints? Most people walk through the door. They're happy for the service that you provide. They have no issues. They're good. They're going to follow the rules. It's that 20% that you're going to spend 80% of your time on. And at some point, I think that as a business, you can say, I don't want you, because you're one client causing me 80% headache right now. And it just isn't worth it. The return on investment makes no sense. Now, I'm still waiting for these parties to have a meeting of the minds. But I can already see in this situation that this customer has no intentions of having a meeting of the minds, because they are just really, really upset with the whole situation. And until they are in a frame of mind to receive even a phone call, receive an apology, receive, maybe the business will compensate them in some way. I don't know what they will offer, what will be said or whatever. But if you're not willing to even open the door to a conversation, I'm going to hire my lawyer. I'm going to lawyer up, accusing me, Sandra, you and the police are alike, no justice, so you could post this. Don't ever compare me to the police, Bobo. Seriously, we're nothing alike. I help the police solve their crimes. Okay. I speak the truth. But I also understand that there is a requirement to be fair to everyone at times. And that there are some times that you need to sit back and make observations before you jump to conclusions. Now, there are some businesses and some business owners who have a reputation for being abrasive, right? And they get a little bit up in their feelings. So they have very, very strict policies and procedures. And you don't always know why they're that way. Let me give you an example. So I have an aunt, she has a business in town, and she has very limited parking for her little business. They've been there, must be close to 50 years now. And during Christmas time, especially during the holidays, Christmas and Easter and whatever, there's another business that's like across the street from her, a very busy business, and they have overflow parking like towards the back of their building. But no one seems to know anything about the overflow parking, or they're just too lazy. They don't want to go back there and park. So a lot of times their overflow parking becomes her parking lot. And especially during Christmas, you know, she's trying to make her little coins. People want to be able to come and park in her thing. They can't when all these other people are coming. So she says, listen, she puts up a sign, no parking. When they allowed clamping, remember when that was a thing not too long ago? She actually purchased a machine and she would clamp your wheel. Yes, senior citizen auntie would clamp your wheel and you'd have to pay $75 to have it removed. And it was really about sending the message that you don't get to come here and park in my parking lot. And then so many of them thought that they were so slick, right? They would park and they'd come, oh, you know, I want to have a look around your store. Obviously not really interested in the store at all. And then turn around and walk across the street because they thought they were playing her. And she's been around a long time. So you're not going to play her so easy. She's like, please move your vehicle. And there have been a couple of times when things have gotten really, really heated. But you know why? Because people come here with an attitude that is unbelievable. The things that they will say and the things that they will do. There are people who have insulted her, non-Caymanians and even some Caymanians, who have insulted her. Oh, they're going to call the very police commissioner. She had an English guy once. I'm going to go call the police commissioner on you. And she's like, and what's the police commissioner going to do? This is private property. The rule is clearly there. It says no parking unless you're a patron of this business. Call the police commissioner. Call the queen while you're at it and tell me exactly what they're going to do. This is how she fights the boy. This is how she can tell you. And so she's had so many rude people come at her. Some have made threats of violence. I mean, it's just ridiculous. There's an incident. I've got to put this video up. I've had it for a couple of weeks now, but I've been so busy. You guys know by Jose Eso. They have those cones, right, that go all the way. They've actually extended them by the airport. So now they start sooner and they go further down. So you have to decide early on whether you're going Crew Road or you're going to go on the Linford Pearson bypass. If you forget, you're on the phone, you're distracted, whatever, you forget to make that turn, you can no longer turn and merge over into the next lane because too many people were doing that. It was causing traffic accidents, traffic congestion, all sorts of foolishness. So now the NRA has put the cones all the way down and they look permanent. They do not look like they're going to be moved. So what people have taken to doing, now this is crazy, is they are driving down by Dee's building. Remember where Dee's salon used to be? They're driving down by that pink building right after Crichton's building, I think it is. They're quickly turning in there, turning around and coming back around and then looping to Linford Pearson. So recently there was a woman who did this and listen, couple of things. And this is, again, where sometimes we don't get the full story. We're just going to hear one version of it. We're like, oh, well, what's the problem with turn around in the parking lot, blah, blah, blah. The business owners in that parking lot have a art studio or something. And there's a lot of after school programs and kids. And they have concerns that these people come in there swirling around so fast that one of these days they're going to hit one of these children. And the neighbor, remember the old PPM office? The neighbor there now, he comes out and he's like, I think it's next to the current PPM office. He's saying the exact same thing. They're turning in his yard and swirling up the dirt and doing the most. So when they were speaking to a lady last week, she came in there and almost hit the neighbor, because it was a neighbor and then some people in the plaza saying, you can't come in here and do this. And she almost hit the man, and he took out, I think he was raking the yard or something he had in his hand. And he was like, I'm going to hit you with my rake. And then this huge altercation ensues. And she cussing them, your BBC and your this and your that and blood clot. And it's like, whoa. Now, y'all know that you're in the wrong. You shouldn't really be making that. That should now become an illegal U-turn. Trying to circumvent because you couldn't decide early on which direction you go in. You know what? You wait till you get to an actual street. You turn down the street and you turn around. There's nothing wrong with turning around. But don't be swirling into people's private parking lots, acting the fool, almost knocking down old men, women, children, everything else. And then you cuss people out and go on like a proper idiot. Yes, it's a problem at that area, and that's why they've extended it. So we're going to put that video up a little bit later on, because that's a hot mess of a situation there as well. You can't give people right when they're wrong. So just because you run to CMR with your cockamamie story, because some of them be cockamamie stories, does not mean that I'm going to take your side, that I'm not going to be fair, balanced, and impartial, and I'm going to just automatically be like, oh yes, well, obviously you are absolutely correct. You're telling the truth 1,000%. You may be telling the truth, or you may not be telling the truth. I don't know. And oftentimes it is a judgment call. And so if I sit back and listen and watch and wait, then don't be sending me your cross-eyed stories and accusations, but I'm just like the police. You're not hurting my feelings, I hope you know, because what you think is really of little consequence or concern to me. And I think the more people that realize that in Cayman, probably the better. I ran into a young lady at the grocery store the other day. She was so funny. She said, Miss Sandy, may really rate you, may rate you, girl, because man, you're not business, you're not rumping with them, you're not business at what they say. My mama said you need to go join CMR with her. She says that she actually will take her break once the show starts in the morning, or go to the bathroom so she can catch some of the show. And her supervisor's like, She go into the bathroom, sit down on the toilet. That's her CMR break. So she's not taking a smoke break or coffee break. She's taking a CMR break. Honesty for some people is refreshing. For some people, they don't really care for it. They think it's too much. They don't like it. But at the end of the day, when I tell you, it really doesn't matter to me. You have to understand. That's why this show is called The Cold Hard Truth. And I want to thank my good doctor friend for actually coming up with that name for the program when we were trying to decide what the program should be called. So, if a company has done you wrong, right? This is my recommendation. Give them an opportunity to fix it. So there was another call yesterday. Someone was alleging that this person who's renting properties during COVID, they are alleging that this person is involved in defrauding them, right? Because they'd made a booking and then something happened and they were having issues at the last minute. They were like, okay, that property isn't available again, but we're going to get you another property. And, at some point as a consumer, you're just like, you know what? I can't deal with all this. I just want my money back. And so they had requested the money back. And I guess at first the person didn't want to refund their money, almost $2,000. You better believe I would want my money back too. If a contract is breached, right? And you need to know a little bit about contract law. If the other party has breached the contract, then yes, they have an obligation to make it right. And if they don't, then they need to refund you your money. If they can't give you what you're trying to pay for, whatever, then yes, contract 101. You paid your money. That's your consideration. You've entered into a contract. Sometimes a contract is breached not because of something that person did. A lot of times it's something beyond their control, and they still have to make it right. And if they have to do that, if they have to make it right, then you just got to suck it up. The irony of it, though, is that person called me to complain and say, this is what is going on. And it was like, okay, no problem. And then within a couple hours, the other party calls me to say, this person is now calling my workplace and they're trying to do this. They're trying to make me look away. What should I do? Should I get a lawyer? And as I'm listening to this story, I'm like, this story sounds awfully familiar. When they mentioned the amount, I'm like, well, that's the exact same amount. And I said, right. I said, let me give you a piece of advice. There's certain things in life that are just not worth your time. Don't bother with it. Seriously. Refund them the money. Call it a day. I know that you're upset that they try to get your employer involved. Hopefully your employer recognizes that this is a personal situation, has nothing to do with your job, and just keep it moving. Simple. Because you're going to waste more time and energy, bad vibes on this. They've said, here's proof that they've returned the money. They've, initiated the deposit on the return of the money online. The person says they haven't received it yet, yada, yada, yada. One bag of mix-up story. There are times when you need to just, okay, contract is breached, give me my money back, and just part ways and just keep it moving. Because then you start to build up all of this animosity towards a person. Oh, they're defrauding me. They're doing this, they're doing that. I need you to feature them on CMR. They will be featured on CMR if they're actually defrauding people. So when you become someone like what's the name of our shutter guy who was going around defrauding people? Ervelin, help me out here. He defrauded you amongst others. People like that need to definitely be featured. Garfield Rob, this guy's been on our radar for years. He's been defrauding people. Yes, he's a fraudster. And he needs to be highlighted. So we are here to help with people like that who the police seem to not be able to do anything about. I'm more than happy to lend our CMR clout or whatever you want to call it to shaping those people up one way or the other. So listen, the police officers, the beat officers, when people would call and complain about him and say, oh, this is a civil matter, we're not getting involved. I personally emailed the commissioner myself and I said, sir, with all due respect, I have a law degree and I know a little bit about the law. At some point, this no longer is a civil matter. This is an individual who is perpetrating a fraud against multiple people across the community. When is the police going to step in? You stepped in for far less. And sure enough, he said, And an investigation was launched. And they sent out a press release asking other victims to come forward. The man got at least 10 victims that I know about presently who are waiting on their money. How many victims you need before you say this man's a fraudster? You see, that's a different situation. If it was like a one-off, mix up situation and, okay, this is why the shutters were delayed, but he intends to make good on it or refund the money or whatever. That's different. This man is taking people's money, knowing full well that he will not complete the job. He has no intention of completing the job. And then when you message him to get your money back, he starts to ghost you and you never see or hear from him again. No bueno. That's the problem. Those are the types of people that I gladly feature in CMR. The other thing is, when you come to CMR with your complaints, have your receipts in order. So you got a story to back up what you got to say. That's fine. Everybody, like I said, everybody has their version, whatever. The person yesterday with this whole rental situation, they had email correspondence that they were able to send, receipts, this, that. Yes, I need those types of things for my own record keeping purposes, for my own well-being. And if I'm going to do a story, that becomes part of the story. You've got to show the evidence. Last week, I ran into a man. I can't remember where I saw him. Somewhere about, I don't know where it was really. It wasn't the gas station. It was somewhere else. Anyway, the man says to me, oh, I need to have a word with you. And I said, okay, sure. And he said, some time ago, I came to you with a complaint and I gave you some documents and this sort of thing. Do you remember? And I had to be very honest. No, sir. I get so many complaints and phone calls that there's some stories that I just don't remember. There's some people I just don't remember. And he said, well, I'm just letting you know that I'm making some progress. This was some situation, I think, with government. I'm making some progress with them, so I don't want you to do anything about it. And I said, well, if it was that long ago and I haven't done anything about it, it's probably sitting in a folder somewhere and has literally been forgotten about. Sometimes that happens because I get so busy. So here he was actually thanking me, listen to the irony of this, for not doing anything about it all this time, because as it turns out, it is likely something that they can resolve amicably without going public and without all of that rigmarole. There are times when that is possible. And that's why it's important to give situations a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of space. Allow the parties to talk and see what they can do. There are times when it's evident that there will be no resolution, and yes, we're going to publish a story, we're going to put it up. And you would be surprised how many complaints I get about people, small business owners. Oh, they're offering immigration services and they're taking my money. They're not providing the service. And I wait and I sit on it. When I start hearing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 complaints, and it's like, okay. This is someone who clearly isn't handling their business right. So we don't charge you. Someone said to me yesterday, you need to start charging a $25 fee every time somebody comes to you with a question or a complaint or something. Because legit, you're helping K-Man solve a lot of problems. And I get that sometimes when you mention CMR's name, businesses are like, you know what? Let me just take care of this for you. So that motivates them. Before you even have to call me, that motivates them to do the right thing. But I also don't want you guys going around just willy-nilly throwing around CMR's name and making stuff up, because I had that situation last week as well. Someone reached out to me and they said, let me go back to this message now because I was confused about what they were saying. They said, well, they sent me a voice note. Basically, the voice note said, oh, this person who called you about XYZ, that's not the full story. The other person has come to me and I'm like, I responded and said, I don't know anything about this. Who are you even talking about? Well, that person said she contacted you. She didn't. So don't be mixing me up in your lies Okay. And claiming that you've contacted me, threatening people at CMR if that's not even the truth. It's one thing if you say you're going to call me, but don't be telling people that you've called me and I'm going to do an expose on them when I don't even know who you are. I know nothing about your story. Don't be lying and using CMR in your lies, honestly. We're not about that life. We are trying to help people. Here's a comment. Someone says, once I threatened someone about a situation that I was going straight to CMR, betcha it got sorted real fast. And I'm well aware that happens. All the time it happens. So I'm more than aware. I hear the phone calls. I be hearing how y'all be getting free stays at these 5-star hotels in Cayman because you mentioned CMR after you got bad service or prejudicial service or whatever. And I never heard a word from you, but your friends telling me about how you got a weekend at the Kimpton or a weekend at this one or that one. I'm like, how are you getting a weekend at the Kimpton? I'm not getting a weekend at the Kimpton. Ay. Irvin says, I tell him, don't let me call Sandy, Good morning, Carson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Neelis is having a good laugh. Al Ray says, CMR, the problem solver. We certainly don't mind helping where we can. They're afraid of CMR. Bad, says Merstar. Yeah, boy, let me tell you. You know what is so funny? A couple times now, like once I was in a restaurant recently and I saw these little old people. They didn't recognize me, so I guess they don't necessarily watch the show, but they were talking about, oh yes, and Cayman Mall Road had this up and I just had a chuckle. I was sitting there having lunch by myself. It was a late lunch and I was having my little soup and whatever. And I was just chuckling the whole time that they were mentioning CMR's name. MP, Minister, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, thank you so much for tuning in. He says he's enjoying the show this morning. Thank you, my dear. Neela says it worked for me. I reached out to Sandy and got a little bit of justice because I stated I did before Sandy could do a story. I was invited to a resolution meeting. Yes, child. People don't want to be on Mall Road, Louis says, I'll try that up and see the reaction I get as a way of promoting the show. Woo! Boy, listen, my phone be ringing off. I got so many people, civil servants complaining about government. Ooh, that's a hot topic. Oh, government's a hot mess. And again, I try to give government an opportunity to fix it. Sometimes I call them and I'm like, on the face of it, this is a problem. Someone contacted me about CUC the other day, an employment situation with CUC. And I'm thinking, wow, CUC has always been known to be a pretty decent employer. What is really going on here? Fix it. Don't have me to put you on blast with an employee who's been with you for 19 plus years. That's not good. Sort out your business. Aliana says more effective than the police. Put a CMR light on that vehicle and watch the heartbeats go up in a notch. Oh, Lord. No, sir. That would be funny to get a CMR light now, Aliana. That is funny. Blissful Powell says, let me tell you about CMR. What? Oh, my goodness. I think I need to have like a whole department, a subsection of CMR. Remember when during COVID, we did the Seek Out Sandy segments where we did like a little Q&A. Those are coming back, by the way, here on this show. And I'm also going to start really incorporating those into the website as well. Because the other day, someone had a question about the vaccine. Can visitors take the vaccine, blah, blah. And I figure, what? A lot of people probably don't know this. And a lot of people have the same question. So sometimes you're answering it for one person, but you put it out there, you're answering it from way more than one. So let's talk about, speaking of the vaccine, let's move away from the whole complaints line, because I'm going to have to hire somebody just to man the complaints line. And we'll have to do a commercial that goes something like this. Bring. Hello. You have a complaint? Do you have a complaint about government, your employer, a restaurant, anybody getting under your skin and pissing you off, even the neighborhood dog? Call nobody but Cayman Mall Road. We're going to help you solve your. I'm thinking we need to like somehow commercialize this, get a couple corporate sponsors, and we will be well on our way. Hello, Miss Iva. You got my mangoes ready for me yet? I've been over a week now, you know. Boy, those are some good mangoes. Oh my God. They were delicious. Nothing like local Cayman mangoes. I have a East Indian tree in my yard. I don't even touch it. I'm like, I have business with them. I don't want no East Indian. I don't want no Julie mango. I don't want no Nam duck and this and that. No, no, no. Just give me my low Cayman mango. They're small, but they are so delicious. A little salt and pepper, and I'm happy. Sometimes a little bit of vinegar. So Neela says, yes, Sandy, you should. I love that idea. Complaints hotline. Child, that would be on fire. Oh my God. Bring. Oh, line 1, please hold. Bring. Line 2, please hold. All 5 lines are busy at the moment. Can we call you back? That would be probably the response. Carson says, are you going to watch Cayman's football team tonight? Are they going to actually air it? Because if they do, we'll pull the feed from somewhere and share it. So thank you, Janita. We are playing. Who are we playing? I know we posted it up on our page. Let me just remember. So we've got a couple qualifying matches. By the way, speaking of football, I have invited the what's his name, Mr. Whitaker, on the program to tell us what's going on with the world of football, because you guys saw the other day that he actually has been suspended for 6 months, and the national team was fined like $50,000. And you know who has oh yes, just our green. I don't need them like super green, but a little bit turned. So this is the 2022 CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, and we're actually playing Aruba this evening at 5 p.m. That's in Bradenton, Florida. I'll try to find out where the match is airing and let you guys know. But there's a nice picture here of our squad. You know, these young men, these guys are working hard. I'm all about supporting the team, supporting football. But I think there's some questions that need to be answered. When you get fined $50,000 by FIFA, those crooks, maybe they're reform crooks now, fining us 50 grand, and you know that's our government that has to pay that money. I want to know what's going on. No, sir. That's a lot of money, you know. That's a scholarship for some people. Louis says it's a small magnet light. I think CMR number one. Child, I'm not putting that in my car. You think I want any more phone calls, Louis? I'm telling you, people know how to reach me already. That's not a problem. The WhatsApp is blowing off. MP Brian says, Sandy, seriously, you have way too much fun doing your job. Do I not? I love it. I absolutely love my job. Who said the news had to be boring? Not me. And I think that's why a lot of our young people kind of like CMR, because they're like, it's cool to be in news, apparently. It's cool to be in everybody's business. Zambula says, all now, nothing on the stipend. What do you mean, nothing on the stipend? What are you looking for? You haven't received your stipend? Or what's the problem? Because I think that you would have been listening to the program the other day when Minister Kenneth Bryan was on, and he said they're looking at how long they're going to be extending it for. A lot of that is determinant on the reopening plan. And the good news is from Monday, I've been preaching about the vaccine and the importance of people getting vaccinated, not wasting this batch of vaccines. And we got the good news yesterday from the government that it turns out that there will be no wastage. The governor made an announcement. Everybody made an announcement. This is good news. So enough people, in other words, this government has had a successful campaign that means essentially that, you know, there will be no wastage of the vaccine. Enough people have gotten vaccinated, which is good news, and they anticipate it all being used up by the 9th. Fantastic news. And so I think the governor even did a statement. I'm just trying to find, for some reason, let me just see here. But this is fantastic news. I mean, this is exactly what we wanted, right? Because, at some point, it's not going to be free. Let me just put it that way. At some point, we will probably have to end up paying a lot of money to get the vaccine. It's quite unfortunate. I think that whilst it was free, there was this concern lurking around that enough people were not getting it. So well done to the PAC government. They stepped up their marketing efforts, and they were doing everything. The giveaways, hello, good idea. But if that's what it took, then it clearly worked, just like it's worked other places in the world. So, I said this before, whatever it takes. If it takes you thinking that you could win $10,000 versus you being concerned about your health and your own well-being, then whatever. Just go get vaccinated. So congratulations. Bring back our football team. Yep, it's good for the young ones. Carson. So your president is not a president. Which president are we talking about? Get you a conductor hat. Jasara says, I make it fun. Well, what is life without a little good laugh and some fun? Honestly, we can't take life too seriously all the time. Y'all be killing me with the seriousness at times. I'm like, boy, no, sir. Carson says he reminds me of Jeff Webb. He's headed in the same direction. Pump the brakes, Carson. That's not a good comparison. Jeff Webb has been sitting down for 6 years. Now, this man not going to get sentenced to a day in jail. You've been on house arrest for 6 years and they can't sentence you all now? He was singing like a canary, and clearly that singing has paid off. Now, y'all know I can't sing, but I guess when it comes to staying out of jail, then at the end of the day, whatever it takes. He's probably saying, I'm going to be like Sandy saying, I'm not about that jail life. I'm too cute for prison. He's too posh for prison. He couldn't survive. So he's been cooped up in his mansion in Atlanta. And I kind of wonder what is going to happen to him, because I know they took a lot of stuff and they took all the watches and they sold, whatever they could to try to get some of the money back. But to be honest, a lot of times what you find with money is that you will never get it back. I mean, when someone swindles money and they spend it, it's gone forever. That's it. So they recovered what they could, but, will he ever come back to Cayman, you think? I would love to interview Jeff. Jeff, are you listening? You got any cousins or anybody out there listening to the program this morning? Tell Jeff Webb, after this is all said and done, so after they come back and tell him, 6 years later, 7 years later, you're not going to jail, Bobo. You good. We're going to just pardon you and whatever. I'm surprised that President Trump didn't pardon him. What was that all about? Well, technically, he hasn't been sentenced to anything yet to pardon, but you know what I mean? He could have forgiven everything. Tell Jeff we need him on the program. We need to talk to him. I want to know what the heck was going on. But do you think he'll ever come back to Cayman? The shame of it all. Oh my God. How can you show your face? But this is the Cayman Islands, child. People are very forgiving. They probably start inviting him to all the black tie parties soon after. Paris says FIFA is one of the most corrupt institutions They are with open eyes to give penalties and steal money. Yeah. Their record stands for itself is all I can say. El Rey says Sandy called Brent and Craig. They're over there in Rooster talking about Carnival with 5 viewers. No. Stop it. El Rey, you are so ridiculous. I can't even with you. Oh my God. They are ridiculous. No, sir. Mm-mm-mm-mm. What a mess. I'll let Craig and Brent know. El Rey, sending it to them right now. There you go. Done. I've informed them. That is so funny. Carnival. Yes, Carnival was approved. We'll get them on maybe tomorrow. I've actually got to go to the dentist. I don't know if I told you guys this. AJ says, stop taking vaccines and being guinea pigs. Child, please. Let me be very, very clear, AJ. Vaccines have saved millions of lives, probably yours too. And we posted this yesterday, and I hope y'all are paying attention. 14 diseases that we have controlled thanks to vaccines. Did y'all see this? In case you didn't, hold on now. Let me share it with you. Because y'all Johnny come latelys who want to be virologists and experts on everything, because you think you've read one article and that makes you an expert. Yeah, we're COVID free because we've been all living in isolation and we closed our borders. AJ, that is not a position that is sustainable. How many different ways do we have to say it? Remember, there's a time that we weren't COVID free. We were on the verge of a major outbreak. Remember the day all of our hearts collectively sunk, including the premier, the former premier, and everybody else, when they announced that we had like 8 positives in one go? And, you know, the premier was like, okay, this was the point. This was the situation we were like not looking for. Do you remember lockdown, AJ? Are you kidding me? Come on now. Let's not be foolish. But look at this. 8 diseases, thanks to vaccines that have been controlled. Polio, tetanitis, measles, influenza, hepatitis B, hepatitis A, rubella. I don't even know what Hib is. I've never heard of Hib in my life. Anybody knows what Hib is? Whooping cough, pneumococcal disease. I think that's how you pronounce it. Rotavirus, mumps, chickenpox, diphtheria. Vaccines actually work, and they have saved, according to the World Health Organization's vaccination programs currently save anywhere between 2 and 3 million lives every single year. Another 1.5 million could be avoided if people were vaccinated. Universal vaccination, the barriers are formidable, especially in less developed areas. Y'all don't know nothing about this because you don't live in those less developed areas where some of these things are still a problem. Thank you, Darlene. Do you remember this? I don't even know what it was called. In certain parts of Africa, there is this parasitic infection that happens where, I gotta look this up. These worms would like get into the skin of people. Help me out here. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. And skin wormholes, is that the one? Oh, it's disgusting. And I've actually seen it. And there's a former president, what's the little old man? He builds homes. He was doing a whole campaign on how to eradicate this, because it really came down to people knowing not to go into the rivers and to do certain things and whatever. I'm trying to remember exactly what this one is. Hold on. Oh, God. And they were so close to eradicating this, and it all came down to education. Oh, what's the president's name again? He's still alive, actually. He's kind of getting up there in age now. But he really works hard to try to educate people. Is it the guinea worm? I think that might be it. Yes, I think this is it. The guinea worm disease eradication campaign program. So they have been working towards trying to eradicate this guinea worm. Yes, President Carter. Oh, here we go. So the cartercenter.org launched this guinea worm eradication program. Since 1986, the Carter Center has led the international campaign to eradicate guinea worm disease, working closely with ministers of health and local communities, including the Center for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and many others. So guinea worm disease could become the second human disease in history after smallpox to be eradicated. It would be the first parasitic disease to be eradicated and the first disease to be eradicated without the use of a vaccine or medicine. Because this whole guinea worm thing is all about lifestyle. Oh my God, it's so disgusting though. Like when you look at the pictures, these worms actually, they burrow into your skin. So it's considered a neglected tropical disease. They call it guinea worm disease, but of course it has a more scientific name that probably none of us can pronounce. It's called it sounds like Dracula. Dracunculiasis or something. So it's a parasitic infection caused by the nematode roundworm parasite, the Draculinus mendinemesis or something. And it's contracted when people consume water from stagnant sources contaminated with the guinea worm larvae. So what happens is when it's inside of the human abdomen, the larvae mate and female worms mature and grow. About a year after incubation, a year of incubation, the female guinea worm, which is about a meter long, creates an agonizing and painful lesion on the skin as it slowly emerges from the body. Oh my God. It comes through your skin. Like I've seen these videos. I'm so disgusted by it. I'm just like, oh my God. But you know, you're disgusted and you keep reading or you keep watching the video, right? Neela says, I want that 10G. I don't know. I didn't know that was the get. Oh yeah, that's one of the prizes. You have to fight some people over that. Peter Smalden, thank you so much. What about the people who didn't get bribed? Good for you. You can enter, actually. You can go back and show your vaccine card and fill out the giveaway and get entered. But here, Peter, this is what I'm going to say to you. I'm going to do a Nancy Pelosi. You did the right thing for the right reason. Do you really have to come back now and say, well, I want to be? You can. Just go enter. It's not a big deal. It's all right. Oh, Gabby got her first shot finally. Good for you. And Neela says, Jeff soon finished. He's been in house arrest. Listen, I don't know what kind of house arrest this has been. I'm sure it has been the cushiest house arrest in the world. Ringing his little bell, tea time. His poor wife working her fingers to the bone because, you know, she's a doctor. She's a professional. They have a baby together. The child must be probably a teenager soon at this rate. But whatever. Neela says, Santa, you know, easy. Please, let's share so Jeff can get the memo. Yes, girl. Tell him to come on. Irvin says he's probably going to charge me for the interview. Oh, no, honey child. He's not charging me. We don't pay for interviews. But Jeff, come and tell us your side of the story. We'd love to hear. Cayman football will never go anywhere if the presidents keep taking out for themselves. Oh, that's what you talk about when you said president and not for the football. Oh, my goodness, Carson. What a hot mess. Travis, good morning. Nope, nobody's died from taking the vaccine. Hib causes meningitis, amongst other things. Oh. Tracy sending a virtual hug. I've never heard of Hib before, so I must look this up. They will never let another real vaccine. What? Vaccines don't make the medical companies money. Actually, they do. They can be profitable. Maybe not in the initial stages because it takes a lot of money to actually produce a vaccine. But when you have a vaccine like this, where everybody in the world has to take it, governments are paying for it. Your vaccine will sell. Remember, the vaccine companies were actually given grants by the government, the federal government in the US. Trump was giving away millions of dollars. Just take her money. Hurry up and develop a vaccine. Yeah, this isn't the bot fly. That's another horrific situation. But AJ, that's not correct. Especially with a vaccine like this. The vaccine race was on, and governments around the world were paying big money for the development of a vaccine because they were tired of people dying. And it's more expensive, actually, to have people die and you're losing portions of your population, entire families, all this kind of hot mess. So yeah, they were trying to prepay for it. Trump was trying to secure vaccines before other people. He was even trying to poach scientists in Europe who are working on vaccines for their own country. He's like, forget them. Give it to us. We'll pay you big money. So to say that there's no money in vaccines is actually an incorrect statement. You got to keep up, AJ, with what's actually going on. There's a lot of money when people are desperate to save lives and keep people healthy and reopen their economies. There's a lot at stake here, folks. So yes, this guinea worm disease is really something else. So there's a Carter Center's guinea worm eradication program, and I've seen him do different things on it before. And So listen to this. Guinea worm, 1 meter long, creates an agonizing and painful lesion in the skin as they slowly emerge from the body. Guinea worm sufferers may try to seek relief from the burning sensation caused by the emerging worm and immerse their limbs in water sources, but this contact with water stimulates the emerging worm to release its larvae into the water, beginning the cycle of infection all over again. Absolutely crazy. It's a devastating disease that incapacitates people for extended periods of time, making them unable to care for themselves, work, grow food for their families, or even attend school. In 1986, the disease afflicted an estimated 3.5 million people a year in 21 countries in Africa and Asia. However, thanks to the work of the Carter Center and its partners, including the countries themselves, the incidence of guinea worm has been reduced by more than 99.99%. Wow. To 27 provisional cases in 2020. Oh my God. You go from 3.5 million cases a year in 1986 to 27 provisional cases. In other words, they haven't yet determined. I mean, that's just amazing in 2020. So there's 27 cases were in 6 countries. Chad had 12 cases. That was a 75% drop from 2019. Animal infections, poor animals get it too, showed a 20% decline. And the goal is complete eradication. This is just amazing. So this was a January 2021 statement. So just 27 cases from last year. Wow. So 99.999% eradication is pretty damn good, I must say. So, we have to listen to the professionals, the scientists, the virologists. These people, they do this for a living. All of us feel like because we have the internet and we can look something up that we're an expert. I'm not a doctor. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night where I can pretend to be a doctor. I'm not even a lawyer, despite the fact that I have a law degree. So when y'all be calling about, oh, Sandy, we know you're a lawyer, I tell you, pump the brakes. I'm actually not a lawyer. Yes, I keep winning cases against the government, but that doesn't make me a lawyer. Lawyers have years of training and experience, and I only have the cases that the government keep coming at me with. So I might know a thing or two about the law because I did pay attention in law school and I did pretty good. But don't mistake me for a lawyer. And there'll be things that a lawyer can tell you they're keeping up with the law every single day that I'm not going to have a clue about. So don't mistake your Google sense, your Google knowledge for you being an expert on anything. Yeah, you can have an opinion, doesn't mean that it's right. I want to listen to the professionals. I want to hear what they have to say. They work hard with a lot of different programs, a lot of eradication programs around the world. Now listen to this. You know what has worked as well? Incentives. Y'all be knocking the incentives program like, oh, why y'all paying people for? Here, Volunteers trained by Chad Guinea Pig Eradication Program with the Carter Center have helped encourage people in those areas to bury fish discards and cash rewards, cha-ching, money, okay, are being paid for reporting infected animals and for keeping them away from water sources. Researchers are actively seeking a remedy for canine infections, including the use of established veterinary deworming drugs. Drugs around the world have been very useful to a lot of y'all who complain about drugs, but you'd be the first one to go grab a headache tablet. So this is good news. In 2019, Ethiopia reported 8 animal infections. Mali had 9. Angola had 1. So a lot of it was getting to very poor rural areas and educating these people about what not to do. Having these eradication programs, awards of up to $100 if they report an animal that has it. Now, $100 might not seem much to y'all, but that's a lot of money for these people. So this is wonderful news. The world does not, despite what y'all think, world leaders and the world, generally speaking, does not benefit from uncontrolled diseases all over the place. It hurts world economies, it kills people, it hurts people. People are not able to work and sustain themselves. So, do I hope that we can eradicate COVID-19? I sure hope that we can get as close as we can. But we have to do our part. Everybody has to do their part. This isn't just about you. I'm just saying. Misinformation is so easy to pass around now. Somebody was showing me yesterday, someone is circulating about, oh, you know how Facebook only allows you to see 25 of your friends. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Especially if you know technology, that don't make no sense. Yes, Facebook has an algorithm system and it works in a certain way, which Facebook doesn't even tell us how it works. So these experts who claim they know what Facebook is doing really aren't telling the truth. But it turns out that that particular message has been in circulation since 2018. And they're like, oh, this is new. It's not even new. It's been around for a while. It keeps reemerging. People post it up and then they're like, oh, comment hello in the comment section if you agree or some foolishness. It's like, why would you have to do that? Sometimes these spam messages on social media are meant to test how quickly a message can be in circulation, so that when they want to send out something, they're like, oh, yes, well, we know that these people will always be forwarding shit. They're the forwarding crew. They can forward a misinformation like nobody's business. And so we can, do ransomware and it'll circulate to everybody in their address book or whatever. It's like, people, get it together now. Y'all get yourselves together. Well, I've got to go to court. Speaking of Jeff Webb, the decision is coming down the pipeline today with Bruce Brake and Canova Watson. So I will be going to court to inquire about that situation. Someone has sent me a request to look into a matter where the charge is, this is weird, but the charge is child stealing. I have never heard of such a charge in Cayman in my life. So I will certainly look into that because I don't know what charge stealing is. Child stealing? Who steals a child? Most of y'all don't even want your own children, much less stealing somebody else's. But there's some crazy people out there. Anywho, I'm heading to court. I'll let you guys know. You'll be the first ones to hear the decision. In the Canova Watson case, I want to get there early, get good parking, get a good seat. Now I'm wearing this top today. I need to decide, do I change this top because I'm going to court, or do I just wear like a blazer or sweater over it? Because you can't be showing those shoulders, too much shoulders for court. You can't be showing all this skin up in court. So I might just put on a sweater over this. I'm just going to wear some, I'm wearing shorts right now, which you guys can't see. But I'll probably just put on some black pants and I'm ready to go. So I was telling you late yesterday, I noticed that I could feel something on my gum line. I'm like, what the heck is this? So I've got a little bit of like an abscess or something. So I've got to get into the dentist at some point today for them to take a look at it. Ironically, just on Friday, because I was supposed to be at the dentist yesterday doing part 2 of that root canal, but it hasn't worked on this tooth. So I've got to remove this tooth. And it's like kind of like right there. It's like a front tooth. It's one of the little ones, though. It's not like the, what do they call the ones that come down? It's not that one. It's like a little itsy bitsy one. So I'm going to have to actually extract the tooth, which is never fun. Although you don't really feel anything at the moment because they're going to numb it so well. But now it looks like it's impacting my gum. So I felt this yesterday. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Just on Friday, I was in there and they were giving me all my different options. Okay, if you take it out, you can do an implant. Implant takes more time. It's like a 2-year process to get an implant because you've got to wait 6 months for the bone to settle down and to do this and do that. I'm like, oh, fine. They'll put in a little, temporary tooth in there, so I'm not walking around like a one-tooth fool, or missing a tooth fool, I should say, not one tooth, but so I'll have to make a decision. I'm leaning towards the implant option versus the bridge. Most dentists will say go the implant route. It's definitely more permanent and it'll probably last me for sure the rest of my life. But dental work, the mental pain of it all, because sometimes it doesn't even physically hurt, but you get so worked up about it. So, so we shall see what's going on there. I may have to extract it a lot sooner than I was anticipating, but what can you do? It's very, very important to pay attention to your dental health, by the way, because, your teeth are right here in your mouth, and that's connected to all of your sinus cavities, which is very close to your brain. So you can easily get an infection in your brain that will kill you. That's why they give you antibiotics when you start complaining about toothaches, whatever, because they want to get the infection under control. Because heaven forbid that goes to the brain and, gets in your bloodstream or whatever, you got a problem. So take your oral health very, very seriously, folks. Pay attention to your mouth. Look at things in your mouth and, just make sure you're paying attention. So that's all I got for you. I'm going to jump in my little car, scooter to town. Are we having any rain in town today? It looks beautiful in Newlands, Lower Valley area. But I find we've been getting a lot of rain in town recently. 'Tis the season. So make sure that you Walk with your umbrella. Yes, Carol, a lot of people don't know things like gum disease has actually been linked to heart health. Now, they're not yet saying cause and effect, but there's a definite link there. So people who don't take care of their teeth tend to have cardiovascular issues, and they're more likely to have heart attacks and that sort of thing. So yeah, you can't neglect any part really of your body. So I've got to prioritize this situation with the tooth. I don't know how painful the extraction will be, and if I will then be forced to maybe take a day off. I want to kind of do it closer to the weekend so I can kick up my feet a little bit maybe, but we'll see. I will definitely keep you guys abreast of everything. And I wish you a super wonderful day. Stay tuned. We'll do a live stream from court with the verdict. Big shout out to our young folks who participated in the youth parliament this weekend. Here they are. They did a fantastic job. I'm so proud of them. Some of them had a lot of flair and passion, and I loved it. One young man was actually going to, he may be going to the UK and participating in parliament over there, but it depends on whether or not the UK reopens its borders, et cetera, et cetera. So he was very, very, very impressive. They all did a fantastic job. I loved it. So thank you so much. Someone just said that, Sandy, I was recently told by a dentist that nobody in Cayman can do implants properly. That's been our experience. $60,000 later, implants have to come out. My bridge is fine 20 plus years later. Good luck. Well, where I go, they bring in a specialist, and you better believe I'm going to be Googling that name to see what kind of work they do. Sometimes it makes sense to just jump on a plane and go to the United States of America and see someone who does, that's all they do. They're an implant surgeon. They're an implant specialist. So this isn't someone who actually practices in Cayman. This dental office, they bring in, even for root canals, a lot of times they will bring in an endodontist. That's a root canal specialist. So all that dentist does is root canals all day long. And being in the States, they do a lot of root canals. So they're root canal experts, and they have all the finest microscopes, and they can tell, which canals they need to go a little bit deeper in. But unfortunately, not all root canals are successful. And this was a tooth that had been previously root canal treated. When you try to retreat a root canal tooth, you have the 50% chance of success rate. So I'm not entirely surprised that the second root canal hasn't been successful, to be honest. We do the most. Listen, 50, 60 years ago, this wasn't even an option. They would just be like, pull it out, put in a fake denture, and try to look as pretty as you can. So what an amazing world we live in when we have things like vaccines, eradication programs, health awareness options. I mean, there's so much now that is available to us in the world that we live in. And I, for one, I'm thankful to be living in a time when technology is where it is. Treatments for cancers. I mean, it's getting better and better and better. We're going to be talking soon with our friends at the Breast Cancer Foundation about some of the available treatments on island if you're diagnosed with breast cancer. One day, I hope that all of these things can be eradicated. Yes, I haven't mentioned the name. So I see people throwing out names, but I actually haven't mentioned the name of the business. So some people are guessing left, right, and center, and they think they know who it is. Anywho, good people, bless up, one love. Have a gorgeous day. Be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.